The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, and it changed everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. Ambassador Daniel Carter was drinking his third cup of coffee when his assistant rushed into the office. The young man's face was pale, and his hands were shaking as he placed a tablet on Daniel's desk. "Sir, you need to see this. It came through every communication channel on Earth at the same time." Daniel picked up the tablet and read the message. It was written in perfect English, which was strange because it came from somewhere beyond the stars. The Galactic Council of United Species formally summons representatives of the human race to attend a welcoming ceremony at Council Station 7. You will be assigned your proper place among the civilizations of the galaxy. A transport corridor will open near your outer planet in 48 hours. Send your delegates or face consequences. Daniel read it 3 times. Then he called Secretary Park, the head of Earth's United Government. Within 6 hours, every major leader on Earth had gathered in an emergency meeting. The room was filled with arguments, fear, and confusion. Some wanted to ignore the message. Others wanted to send weapons. A few suggested surrender before they even knew what they were surrendering to. Secretary Park listened to everyone. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many crises. When the room finally grew quiet, he spoke. "We have been spacefaring for 80 years. We always wondered if we were alone. Now we know we are not." He paused and looked around the table. "We cannot ignore this. We cannot attack what we do not understand. We will send delegates." The choice of who would go was not difficult. Daniel Carter had spent 30 years studying history and diplomacy. Before becoming an ambassador, he had been a professor who taught his students one simple lesson: every negotiation reveals what the other side truly values. Commander Lisa Grant was assigned as his military advisor. She was 45, with sharp eyes and a calm voice that never wavered even in the worst situations. She had commanded ships along the outer borders and knew more about military strategy than anyone else on Earth. 2 days later, Daniel and Lisa stood inside a small human vessel as it approached the transport corridor. The corridor looked like a tear in space itself, glowing with soft blue light. "Are you afraid?" Lisa asked. Daniel smiled. "I am terrified, but I am also curious, and curiosity has always been stronger than fear in humans." The ship entered the corridor and reality twisted around them. Colors that had no names flashed past the windows. Time seemed to stretch and compress at the same time. Then, suddenly, they emerged into normal space. What they saw took their breath away. Council Station 7 was larger than Earth's moon. It was a massive structure of metal and glass, with thousands of ships coming and going like insects around a hive. Lights covered every surface, and Daniel could see domes and towers stretching in every direction. "There must be millions of beings on that station," Lisa whispered. "Billions, probably," Daniel replied. "If 200 civilizations are part of this council, that station is basically a small planet." A voice came through their communication system. It was cold and official. "Human vessel, you will dock at port 774. Do not deviate from the assigned path. Do not attempt communication with other species. Proceed immediately." Lisa's jaw tightened. "They are treating us like children." "Or like prisoners," Daniel said quietly. "Let us see which one it is." The docking process took an hour. When they finally stepped off their ship, they found themselves in a massive hall filled with alien beings. Some were tall and thin, with skin like polished stone. Others were short and covered in fur. A few floated in the air, their bodies made of something that looked like living light. Every single one of them stared at the humans. Daniel felt the weight of those stares. He understood what they meant. Humanity was being judged, measured, and evaluated. These aliens had seen countless new species arrive at this station. To them, humans were just another primitive race stumbling into the galaxy. A creature approached them. It was tall, with 4 arms and a face that had no expression Daniel could read. Its voice was translated through a device on its chest. "I am Prefect. I will escort you to the Grand Chamber. The Council is waiting." "We were told this was a welcoming ceremony," Daniel said. "We expected some time to prepare and learn about your customs." Prefect made a sound that might have been laughter. "New species do not prepare. New species listen, accept, and obey. That is the custom." Lisa stepped forward. "And if we have questions?" "You will not have questions," replied. "The Council will explain your place. You will accept it. Every species does." They were led through corridors filled with wonders and horrors. Daniel saw technology that made Earth's greatest achievements look like children's toys. He saw gardens filled with plants from 1,000 worlds. He saw prisons, too, behind glass walls, where beings sat in silence with empty eyes. "Who are they?" he asked, pointing at the prisoners. Did not even glance at them. "Species who did not accept their place. They are being corrected." Lisa grabbed Daniel's arm. Her grip was tight and her message was clear. "Be careful. Watch everything. Trust nothing." The Grand Chamber was a stadium large enough to hold 100,000 beings. Seats rose in every direction, filled with delegates from 200 civilizations. At the center was a raised platform where a single alien sat on a throne made of black metal. This was High Arbiter, leader of the Galactic Council. He was ancient, his skin wrinkled and gray, his eyes sharp and cold. He had ruled this council for 300 years, and he had never once been challenged. Daniel and Lisa were led to a small platform facing the throne. Every eye in the chamber watched them. Raised one thin hand, and the entire chamber fell silent. "Humans," he said, his voice echoing through the hall, "you have been discovered. You have been summoned. Now you will be assigned your place among the civilizations of this galaxy." Daniel took a breath. "We are honored to meet the Council. We request time to understand your traditions and discuss terms that benefit both sides." Stared at him. For a long moment there was only silence. Then the High Arbiter spoke again, and his words fell like stones. "There is no discussion. There are no sides. Your negotiation begins now." Grand Chamber was completely silent. 100,000 aliens watched as High Arbiter raised a crystalline tablet and began to read. "These are the standard welcoming terms for the species known as humans. First, humanity will surrender 40% of all colonial territories to Council administration. Second, all human military vessels will be limited to defensive capabilities only. Offensive weapons will be dismantled under Council supervision." Daniel felt his stomach turn cold. Beside him, Lisa's face had become hard as stone. Continued. "Third, all human technology will be shared freely with the Council without restriction. Fourth, humans will provide labor forces for Council projects as required. The number and duration of service will be determined by Council needs." A murmur passed through the chamber. Some aliens nodded with approval. Others watched with expressions that might have been pity. "Fifth and finally," said, "the planet Earth will be designated a protected reserve under Council supervision. Human government will continue to exist, but will answer to a Council overseer in all matters of importance." The High Arbiter lowered the tablet and stared at Daniel. "These are the terms. You will now accept them." Daniel's mind was racing. He had studied history his entire life. He knew what these terms meant. This was not a welcome. This was a conquest without weapons. The Council was taking everything that made humanity free and independent. He opened his mouth to speak, but Lisa touched his arm. Her eyes sent a message. "Not yet. Think first." "High Arbiter," Daniel said carefully, "we are grateful for the Council's attention. However, these terms are complex. We request a recess to review them properly before responding." Another murmur filled the chamber. This time it sounded like surprise. His eyes narrowed. "New species do not request recesses. New species accept. Humans are a thoughtful people, Daniel replied. We wish to understand completely before we commit. Surely the Council values careful consideration. For a long moment, simply stared. Then he made a gesture with one thin hand. You will have 6 hours, no more. When you return, you will accept the terms. Daniel bowed slightly. Thank you, High Arbiter. They were escorted to a small room with bare walls and a single window that looked out at the stars. The moment the door closed, Lisa swept the room for listening devices. She found 3 and disabled them all. They are not even trying to hide that they are watching us, she said. Daniel sat down heavily. Did you hear those terms? They want everything, our territory, our weapons, our technology, our freedom. They want us to become slaves, Lisa said. Slaves who think they are still free because they keep their flag and their anthem. Daniel pulled out a small communication device. It was designed for emergencies, capable of sending a message to Earth through the transport corridor. He typed quickly and sent the terms to Secretary Park. The response came in 20 minutes. Daniel, the message read, we have reviewed the terms. They are unacceptable, however the decision is yours. You are there. You see what we cannot see. Trust your judgment. Whatever you decide, Earth stands behind you. Daniel read the message twice. Then he showed it to Lisa. He is putting the weight on us, she said. No, Daniel replied. He is trusting us. There is a difference. They spent the next 5 hours talking through every possibility. Accepting the terms meant safety, but also the slow death of everything that made humanity unique. Rejecting the terms meant danger, but also the chance to remain free. During those hours, something unexpected happened. A soft knock came at the door. Lisa opened it to find a small alien standing in the corridor. She was covered in blue scales, with large eyes that seemed filled with sadness. I am delegate of the people, she said quietly. I should not be here, but I had to speak with you. Daniel stood. Why? Looked over her shoulder, then stepped inside. I have studied your species, your history, your wars and your triumphs, your art and your mistakes. You are not like the others who came before. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Every species accepts the terms, said. Every single one. They are afraid, or they are weak, or they simply do not understand what they are losing. But humans, she paused. Humans have fought wars for freedom. Humans have died for ideas. Humans have refused to kneel even when kneeling was easier. Daniel felt something stir in his chest. You think we should refuse? Shook her head quickly. I did not say that. I cannot say that. But I want you to know something. The Council's power comes from one thing only, the belief that resistance is impossible. Every species that accepted the terms made that belief stronger. She moved toward the door. Whatever you decide, know that some of us will be watching. Some of us remember what it was like to be free. Then she was gone. Daniel and Lisa looked at each other. Neither spoke for a long time. When the 6 hours ended, they were escorted back to the grand chamber. The seats were even more crowded now. Word had spread that the new species was taking their time, and everyone wanted to see what would happen next. High Arbiter sat on his throne, his ancient face showing no emotion. Humans, he said, you have had your time, now you will accept the terms. Daniel walked to the center of the platform. He looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. He thought about Earth. He thought about every human who had ever lived and died fighting for the right to choose their own path. He thought about in her sad eyes. Then Ambassador Daniel Carter spoke the words that no species had ever spoken in the 300-year history of the Galactic Council. High Arbiter, we have reviewed your terms carefully. We understand what you are offering and what you expect. He paused and took a deep breath. On behalf of Earth and all human territories, we reject every term. The chamber exploded into chaos. Aliens shouted and screamed. Some jumped to their feet. Others sat frozen in shock. The noise was so loud that Daniel could not hear his own thoughts. Raised his hand for silence, but it took a full minute before the chamber quieted enough for him to speak. You reject the terms. His voice was ice. No species has ever rejected the terms. Daniel stood tall. Then humanity will be the first. The High Arbiter's eyes burned with something that might have been anger or might have been fear. In 300 years, no one had ever told him no. You do not understand what you have done, said slowly. You have made an enemy of the entire galaxy. Daniel shook his head. We came here seeking friendship and fair partnership. What you offered was not negotiation. It was domination. Humanity does not kneel. Across the chamber, hidden among the thousands of delegates, felt tears forming in her eyes. She had not believed it was possible. But the humans had done it. They had said no. The chaos in the Grand Chamber lasted for nearly an hour. Aliens shouted at each other, at the humans, and at the High Arbiter himself. Security forces moved through the crowd, trying to restore order. Several fights broke out between delegates from different species. Daniel and Lisa stood on their platform, watching the madness unfold around them. Neither moved, neither showed fear. Finally, High Arbiter slammed his fist against his throne. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder, and slowly, painfully, silence returned. Enough, said. His voice was deadly calm. The humans have made their choice. Now they will face the consequences. A large alien rose from his seat in the front row. He was massive, with red skin covered in thick scales and eyes that burned with hatred. When he spoke, his voice was like grinding stones. I am Counselor of the Empire. I demand that humanity be declared a hostile species immediately. Our fleets should crush their worlds before this disease of defiance spreads. A rumble of agreement passed through parts of the chamber, but other sections remained silent, and Daniel noticed that some aliens were watching the humans with something other than anger. Some looked curious, others looked almost hopeful. Raised his hand. Counselor speaks for many, but the council does not act without proper procedure. He turned his cold eyes to Daniel. Human ambassador, you have rejected our terms. Do you understand what this means? Daniel stepped forward. It means we refuse to surrender our freedom, our territory, and our future to a government we did not choose, and that does not represent our interests. It means, said slowly, that you have rejected the protection of the Council. You stand alone against a galaxy of civilizations, many of whom view your defiance as an insult. Lisa spoke for the first time. We would rather stand alone and free than kneel in chains. Laughed. It was an ugly sound. Brave words from a species that cannot even travel faster than light without our corridors. You are insects. You will be crushed. Perhaps, Daniel said, but insects have a way of surviving. We are small, Counselor. We are new to this galaxy, but we have faced extinction before and we are still here. Studied the humans for a long moment. Something flickered in his ancient eyes. Was it respect? Or was it simply the cold calculation of a predator deciding how to kill its prey? You will be given 24 hours, he said finally. Use this time to reconsider. If you do not accept the terms by then, the Council will authorize corrective measures. What are corrective measures? Lisa asked. Smiled. It was not a pleasant sight. You saw the beings in the prison cells when you arrived. They were once delegates like you. They refused to accept their place. Now they are being corrected. Their species learned to obey. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine, but he kept his voice steady. We will not change our answer, but we request permission to address the full Council one more time before your deadline. Consider this. You wish to beg for mercy. No, Daniel said. I wish to explain why humanity will never accept these terms. I believe the Council deserves to understand who we are before you decide to destroy us. Another murmur passed through the chamber. This was unusual. New species did not make requests. They did not demand to be heard. Stood again. This is a waste of time. Let me take my fleet and end this foolishness. But raised his hand. No, I will grant the humans' request. One final address. Let the galaxy see what defiance looks like before it is crushed. The session ended, and Daniel and Lisa were escorted back to their small room. The moment they were alone, Lisa activated their emergency communication device. "Admiral Bailey," she said, speaking to Earth's Defense Fleet Commander, "this is Commander Grant. We have rejected the Council's terms. They are threatening military action. Prepare all forces for possible engagement." Admiral Bailey's voice came through, crackling with distance. "Understood, Commander. We are outnumbered but we will not surrender. Earth stands ready." Daniel sat by the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth waited. Billions of people who had no idea that their fate was being decided in a room on an alien station. A knock came at the door. Lisa opened it carefully, expecting guards. Instead, she found Delegate, and she was not alone. Two other aliens stood with her. One was ancient, with skin like cracked leather and eyes that had seen centuries pass. The other was small and nervous, with fur that kept changing colors. "May we come in?" asked. Daniel nodded, quickly. The three aliens entered, introduced her companions. "This is Elder of the people, and this is representative of the..." Elder spoke. His voice was weak but filled with emotion. "I remember when there were warriors, explorers. We built ships that crossed the galaxy. Then the Council came with their terms and my ancestors accepted. Now we are clerks and servants. We have forgotten who we were." His fur shifted to a deep blue. "They are few. We have no power in the Council, but we remember stories from before, stories of freedom, stories of choice." Stepped forward. "Word of your rejection is spreading through the station. You have done something that many believed was impossible. You have shown that the Council can be told no." Daniel stood. "But the Council will send their fleet. They will try to destroy us." "Yes," said, "they will, but you need to understand something, human. The Council rules 200 species. They have the largest military in the galaxy. But their power is built on one thing, the belief that no one can resist. You have cracked that belief." Nodded quickly. "Some species are already talking, asking questions, wondering what would happen if they also refused." Lisa frowned. "Are you saying there might be others willing to stand with us?" Hesitated. "I do not know. Fear is powerful. Most species will stay silent. But if you speak tomorrow, if you can show the galaxy what humanity truly stands for, perhaps..." She trailed off. Daniel understood. "Perhaps we can wake them up." Placed a thin hand on Daniel's shoulder. 300 years ago, my people could have done what you are doing. We were afraid. We chose safety over freedom, and we lost everything that mattered." His eyes met Daniel's. "Do not make our mistake. Whatever happens, do not kneel." The three aliens left as quietly as they had come. Daniel and Lisa spent the night preparing. They did not sleep. They wrote and rewrote Daniel's speech, searching for the words that might change history. Outside the window, the lights of Council Station 7 glittered against the darkness of space. Somewhere in that vast structure, thousands of species were watching, waiting, wondering. And far away, near the borders of human space, Admiral Bailey received a report. A massive fleet was gathering, ships from dozens of species, all under Council command. They were coming for Earth. The countdown had begun. The Grand Chamber was completely full. Every seat was taken, and thousands more watched through broadcast systems across the galaxy. This was the most important moment in Council history since its founding 300 years ago. A new species had rejected the terms. Now they would speak one last time before judgment was delivered. Daniel Carter walked to the center platform. He wore no armor, carried no weapons. He was just a man with words, standing before an empire that could destroy his entire species. High Arbiter sat on his throne, his face showing nothing. Counselor watched with obvious pleasure, already imagining the destruction of human worlds. In the upper rows and sat together, their hearts filled with fear and hope. "You may speak," Human said. "Make it count. It will be your last address to this council." Daniel looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. He took a deep breath and began. "I want to tell you about humanity, not our technology or our military strength. Those things do not matter today. I want to tell you who we are." He paused, letting his words settle. "Humans are not a perfect species. We have made terrible mistakes. We have fought wars against each other. We have destroyed parts of our own world. We have been cruel and selfish and blind." Laughed, the human admits his species is worthless. Daniel ignored him. "But we have also done something else. We have learned. Every mistake taught us something. Every failure made us stronger. We did not become better because it was easy. We became better because we refused to stop trying." He turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. "The Council has offered us protection, safety, a place in your great civilization. All we have to give up is our freedom, our territory, our future, and the right to make our own choices." His voice grew stronger. "I have studied the histories of the species in this chamber. I know what happened to they who were once warriors and explorers. Now they file reports and obey orders. I know what happened to they who once painted the stars with their art. Now they produce what the Council tells them to produce. I know what happened to themselves who were once proud and independent. Now they serve as enforcers, trading their souls for the illusion of power." Rose to his feet. "How dare you speak of that way?" "I dare," Daniel said, "because it is the truth, and truth is something this council has forgotten." Raised his hand to silence. His eyes were fixed on Daniel with intense focus. Daniel continued, "You have built an empire of 200 species. It is impressive. It is powerful, but what is it built on? Not loyalty, not love, not respect. It is built on fear, fear of punishment, fear of correction, fear of being alone." He pointed at the upper rows where the smaller species sat. "Look at them, the species you claim to protect. Are they grateful, or are they afraid? Do they serve you because they believe in your leadership, or because they know what happens to those who say no?" The chamber was completely silent, not a single being moved. "Humanity refuses to live in fear," Daniel said. "We have faced extinction before, ice ages, plagues, wars that nearly destroyed us. Each time we survived because we did not give up. We did not surrender our will to others. We fought and we struggled and we found our way forward." He spread his hands wide. "We did not come to this galaxy seeking enemies. We came seeking friends, partners, species who might walk beside us as equals, sharing knowledge and culture and dreams. What we found instead was a council that demands obedience and punishes independence." He turned to face directly. "High Arbiter, you have ruled for 300 years. In all that time, has any species under your protection grown stronger, happier, more alive? Or have they all slowly faded, losing the spark that made them unique?" His eyes flickered. Just for a moment, something passed across his ancient face. It might have been doubt. It might have been memory. Daniel pressed forward. "Humanity offers something different. We offer true partnership, equal trade, mutual defense against threats that come from beyond our galaxy. We offer the chance to build something new, something that does not require domination or submission." He raised his voice. "We offer freedom, not just for humans but for any species brave enough to stand with us." The chamber erupted in whispers and murmurs. In the upper rows was crying silently. Elder had closed his eyes, remembering the warriors his people used to be. Stood again. "This is propaganda, lies. This human is trying to turn species against the council." "No," Daniel said. "I'm trying to wake them up. I'm trying to remind them of something they have forgotten." He looked across the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of species. "You were once free. You once made your own choices. You once dreamed your own dreams. The council took that from you piece by piece, so slowly that you did not even notice. He lowered his voice. But it is not too late. It is never too late to remember who you are. Stood from his throne, the chamber fell instantly silent. Enough, the High Arbiter said. His voice was cold and final. You have had your chance to speak. Now the council will respond. He raised his hand, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a massive fleet of warships gathering at the edge of council space. This is the corrective fleet, announced. 3,000 warships from 40 species. They have been mobilized to address the human problem. Daniel felt Lisa move closer to him. Her hand found his and squeezed. You offered partnership, said, but partnership requires equals. You are not our equals. You are a young, weak species that has forgotten its place. He gestured at the fleet. This will remind you. Smiled with obvious pleasure. The fleet launches in 6 hours. Your worlds will burn, human. Your defiance will be forgotten. Daniel looked at the image of the massive fleet. 3,000 warships against humanity's few hundred. The math was simple and terrible. But he did not look away. He did not beg. He did not change his answer. Then we will fight, he said quietly, and we will die free. Stared at him for a long moment. Something almost like respect passed through his ancient eyes. Remove the humans from the chamber, he ordered. Let them watch from their quarters as their species learns the cost of defiance. As guards escorted them away, Daniel looked back at the chamber. Thousands of aliens watched him go. And in their eyes, he saw something the council had not noticed. He saw doubt. He saw the first cracks in an empire built on fear. The corrective fleet moved through space like a wave of death. 3,000 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. They traveled through the transport corridors toward human territory, their commanders confident that this mission would be quick and simple. Admiral Bailey stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the reports come in. His defense fleet numbered only 200 ships. They were positioned at the edge of human space, ready to fight even though victory was impossible. Admiral, his communications officer said, the enemy fleet will arrive in 4 hours. Bailey nodded. Tell all ships to prepare for battle. We will not fire first, but the moment they attack, we give them everything we have. Far away, on Council Station 7, Daniel and Lisa watched the same countdown from their small room. They could see the fleet on a display screen, thousands of ships moving toward their home. We did our best, Lisa said quietly. Daniel nodded. Whatever happens next, at least we did not kneel. At least we showed them who we are. But something strange was happening in the Grand Chamber. After the humans were removed, the council had continued its session, expected the delegates to celebrate the coming correction. Instead, an uncomfortable silence had fallen over the chamber. Finally, Delegate of the stood. Her voice was shaking, but she spoke clearly. I wish to make a formal statement. The people withdraw their ships from the corrective fleet. The chamber exploded with noise, stared at her with disbelief. You cannot do that. They are bound by council law to participate in corrective actions. Lifted her chin. They joined the council because we were promised protection and partnership. What I saw today was not partnership, it was tyranny. She paused. My ships are coming home. Before could respond, Elder of the rose from his seat. His old body trembled, but his voice was strong. For 300 years they have obeyed. We have done everything the council asked. And what do we have? Nothing. We have become ghosts of the people we once were. He closed his eyes for a moment. No more. The withdraw from the corrective fleet. Chaos spread through the chamber. Delegates shouted at each other. Some demanded that and be arrested. Others sat in stunned silence. Then representative of the stood. His fur was shifting through every color, showing his terror, but he spoke anyway. They are small. We have no power, but we remember something. We remember that before the council we were free. We made our own choices. We had our own dreams." His voice broke. The withdrawal. One by one, more delegates rose. Species that had been silent for centuries found their voices. The. Within 2 hours, 47 species had pulled their ships from the corrective fleet. Counselor was screaming, "This is treason, this is rebellion, arrest them all." But raised his hand. His ancient face had grown pale. He understood something that did not. The council's power came from unity, from the belief that all 200 species stood together. That belief was shattering before his eyes. If he ordered the arrests, he might start a civil war. The council could tear itself apart. 300 years of work could collapse in a single day. All because 2 humans had said no. Stood slowly. The chamber fell silent, waiting for his judgment. "The corrective fleet is recalled," he said. His voice was quiet but carried through every corner of the room. "All ships will return to their home territories." Stared at him with horror. "High Arbiter, you cannot do this. The humans must be punished." "The humans have already done their damage," replied. He looked across the chamber at the delegates who had withdrawn their support. Punishing them now would only make things worse. Near the edge of human space, Admiral Bailey received the report. The enemy fleet had stopped. Then, impossibly, it began to turn around. "Sir," his communications officer said, "they are retreating. All ships are retreating." Bailey felt his legs go weak. He sat down heavily in his chair. "We survived. How the hell did we survive?" On Council Station 7, Daniel and Lisa heard the news through their display screen. For a long moment, neither could speak. Then Lisa started laughing, and Daniel found tears running down his face. They had done it. Somehow, impossibly, they had done it. An hour later, a guard came to their room. But instead of leading them to prison, he brought them to a private chamber where waited alone. The High Arbiter looked older than before. The events of the day had taken something from him. "You have achieved something remarkable," said. "In 300 years, no species has ever the council and lived. You are the first." Daniel stood straight. "We did not seek conflict. We only asked to be treated as equals." Nodded slowly. "I understand that now. Perhaps the council has forgotten what true partnership means. We have ruled for so long that we forgot how to lead." He was quiet for a moment. "There will be new negotiations, real ones this time. No demands, no ultimatums, just 2 civilizations trying to find common ground." Lisa spoke. "And the species who stood with us, what happens to them?" Sighed. "Nothing. Punishing them would destroy what remains of council unity." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Besides, they have reminded us of something important. Fear is a weak foundation. Loyalty must be earned." The negotiations lasted 6 months. In the end, humanity established trade relationships with 30 species, including the. The Council's absolute authority had been broken forever. 1 year later, Delegate visited Earth. Daniel Carter met her at the landing site and walked with her through a garden overlooking the ocean. "I never believed this was possible," said, watching the sun set over the water. "When you stood in that chamber and said no, I thought you were insane. I thought you were dead." Daniel smiled. "Sometimes the impossible is just something no one has tried yet." Turned to look at him. Her eyes were filled with emotion. "You did not just save humanity, you saved us, all of us. We had forgotten what it meant to hope. We had forgotten that we had a choice." The sun sank below the horizon, painting the sky with orange and gold. "Thank you," whispered. "Thank you for reminding us that we do not have to kneel." Daniel looked out at the ocean, at the world his species had fought to protect. Somewhere out there, among the stars, dozens of species were remembering who they used to be. They were dreaming again. They were choosing their own futures. Humanity had gone to the stars seeking friendship. They found an empire built on fear. And by refusing to kneel, They had shown the galaxy that another way was possible. The first crack had become a flood, and the universe would never be the same.